Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 39, Part 2. As they came straight to the Hall of Gold Carriage, they saw 400 court officials from both the civil and military divisions. Mighty and solemn they were, each and every one of them looking noble and upright. Xingzhe led the Tang monk as they stood before the white jade steps. Standing straight, they made no move at all. All the officials below the steps were terrified as they said, "These monks are indeed foolish and dim. Why are they not prostrating before our king, nor are they opening their mouths to greet him? Not even a single word or gesture. How very reckless and disrespectful." Before they were done talking, the Monster King could be heard saying, "Where are these monks from?" Xingzhe dauntlessly answered, "We are envoys from Great Tang in the land of the East, located in Jambuduipa, continent of the South. By imperial edict, we are heading to the West Realm Kingdom of Sindu. There lies the great Thunderclap Temple where we will worship the living Buddha and seek true scriptures. We arrived here today and dare not pass through without notice. Therefore, we came specifically to process our travel documents." The Monster King heard his words and said angrily, "What if you are from the land of the East? I do not pay tribute to your court, nor do we have relations with your nation. Why refuse courtesy before me and not prostrate to show respect?" Xingzhe laughed and said, "The land of the East has established heavenly dynasties since ancient times. We've long been called the superior nation. You are a border nation of the lower lands. As the ancients say, emperors of the superior nations are fathers and lords. Emperors of the inferior nations are subjects and sons. You never even welcomed me inside. How dare you argue that I am not bowing to you?" The Monster King became outraged and instructed his civil and military officials, "Arrest this wild monk." The moment the word arrest left his mouth, the officials all rushed forward together. Xingzhe gave a shout before pointing with his finger, calling, "Don't move." Using his pointed finger, he enchanted them to freeze, and the officials all became immobile as a result. Truly, captains by the steps resembled dolls of wood. Generals in the halls acted like figures of mud. The Monster King saw him freeze all the officials, so he quickly jumped off his dragon throne to take Xingzhe. The Monkey King was secretly delighted, thinking, "Wonderful, this suits Elderson perfectly. Even if his head is molded with raw iron, the moment it touches the rod, there will be a hole on it." Just as he was about to move, a savior star unexpectedly came over from the side. Who did you think that is? It turned out to be the Crown Prince of the Black Rooster Kingdom. Hurriedly, he clutched the court robe of the Monster King before kneeling down to say, "Calm your anger, King Father." The monster spirit asked, "What do you have to say, my child?" The Crown Prince answered, "Allow me to report to King Father as follows. 3 years ago, I heard from people that there is indeed a divine monk acting as envoy for Tang Dynasty in the land of the East. He is heading to West Heaven to see Buddha and seek scriptures. I did not expect him to arrive at our nation today. The honored nature of King Father is full of mightiness and fury. If you send the monk to be beheaded, I fear Great Tang will one day receive the news and become greatly angered. Think about that Li Shimin who claimed the throne for himself. He has already united the country, but his heart is not yet satiated. That's why he is starting wars by traveling across seas. Should he learn that our king harmed his royal younger brother, the divine monk, he is sure to bring troops and horses to come fight us. Unfortunately, we have very few soldiers and even fewer generals. It might be too late to regret then. King Father, please take your child's words into consideration and ask the 4 monks for their origins first. We can for now hold them for the misdeed of not paying homage to the throne and convict them for any crime afterwards." All this exchange was a result of the Crown Prince being so cautious that he feared the Tang monk would get hurt. That's why he purposefully kept the monster spirit in place, not knowing that Xing actually wanted him for a beating. The Monster King indeed believed his words and stood before the dragon throne, shouting, "Monks, when did you depart from the land of the East? What was the reason the Tang Emperor sent you away to seek scriptures?" Xing once again boldly answered, "My master is the royal younger brother of the Tang Emperor. His title is Sanzang." He then began with the beheading of the Dragon King of Jing River and thoroughly explained why the Tang Emperor sent Sanzang. Then he also introduced the 3 disciples one by one and explained their names and origins. He concluded by saying, "The other day at the imperially founded Baoli Monastery, we newly found a monk as laborer to carry the luggage for us." The Monster King listened, but found no excuse to search the Tang monk. Instead, he came up with a trick to interrogate Xing. So he asked with angry eyes, "Monk, when you first departed the land of the East, you were alone. Later, you accepted 4 individuals to join you. The 3 monks can pass through, but this laborer is hard to excuse. This monk must have come from trafficking. What is his name? Does he have any certification? Bring him over to testify." Terrified, the emperor said, shivering, "Oh, master, how should I even testify?" Sun Xingzhe grabbed him and said, "Quit being scared. Let me testify on your behalf." "Splendid, great sage." Quickly moving forward, he loudly shouted to the monster, "Your Majesty, this old laborer is mute and slightly deaf. Because he has traveled to West Heaven in his younger days, he knows the way to the place. I am thoroughly aware of his birth and origin. Please forgive me, Your Majesty, as I testify on his behalf." The Monster King said, "Give your honest deposition for him as quickly as possible so you aren't convicted of a crime." Xing thereby replied, "The confessing laborer is now old in age, deaf and mute, his home a broken cage. Where we are is where his ancestry belongs, but 5 years ago someone wrecked his place. The sky had no rain while the people were hurt and dried. The king and his people fasted, quitting meat and wine. With incense and baths they declare to heaven, yet no cloud can be spotted across the boundless skies. The people were starving and lives in danger. Suddenly from Zhongnan came a monster of Quanzhen. Showing off his powers, much wind and rain he summoned. But after that, the monster secretly hurt this man, pushing him down the well of the garden, claiming his throne, for no one could tell them apart. Luckily, I arrived, and my merit impacts wide and far. Without issue, he was raised from death for another start. Willing to convert and be a laborer, he will travel with us monks westward. It's the Taoist who is disguised as the king, while the laborer is being played by the true emperor." The Monster King listened to his speech in the hall of gold carriage. His heart was pounding as if just hit by a deer, as redness grew on his face. Quickly withdrawing himself, he was about to run away, but realized he had no weapon in hand. Turning his head around, he saw a general in charge of guarding the hall, who had a treasure broadsword on his waist. Because Xing froze him, he was standing upright there, dazed and mute. The monster approached and snatched the treasure broadsword before ascending on cloud to leave by air. Angered, Shamak was furious like thunder as Zhu Bajie shouted in a loud voice to complain what an impatient monkey Xing was. "If only you talked slower, you would have kept him steadily in place. Now that he has flown away on cloud, where are you supposed to search for him?" Xing laughed and said, "Brothers, no need to clamor. We shall call the crown prince over to bow to his father, and the queen and concubines to meet their husband." He then recited another spell to break the freeze, adding, "Tell the officials who are waking up now to come back and pay respect to their ruler. That way, they will know who the real emperor is. Inform them of all that has taken place before so they understand the matter. Only then should I go look for him." "Splendid, great sage." He then instructed Bajie and Shamonk, "Carefully protect the emperor and his family, as well as the officials and our master." As soon as he declared his departure, there was no more trace of him. It turned out that he had jumped into the azure skies and opened his eyes to watch in all directions to look for the Monster King. That creature had indeed escaped alive and was heading toward the northeastern direction. Xingzhe chased till he was near when he yelled, "Monster, where do you think you're going? Elder Sun is coming for you." The Monster King quickly turned around and wielded the treasured broadsword, shouting, "Sun Xingzhe, how very unreasonable you are. I am usurping someone else's throne. What does that have to do with you? Why are you here to seek any justice and leak my secret?" Xingzhe chuckled and said, "You are one reckless monster. Who gave you the permission to be emperor? If you knew who Elder Sun is, you should have run for cover far, far away. Why were you still making things difficult for my master, asking for some deposition? Didn't we give the deposition just now? Don't you run. A real man shall take a hit from Elder Sun's rod." The monster dodged to the side before returning the attack with the treasured broadsword. The two began a hands-on fight, and what a splendid battle it was. Truly, the Monkey King was fierce just as the Monster King was strong, dare to parry as the broadsword went against the rod. The cloud and mist on a single day was enough to dim all three realms, only to stand in royal court and be declared king and lord. The two fought for several rounds, but the monster could not keep up with the Monkey King. He therefore hastily made his way back into the city through the way he left, running to the YJ steps and mixing himself into the crowd of civil and military officials. He shook his body and transformed into the spitting image of Tang Sanzang. The two held hands as they stood before the steps. The great sage caught up and held his rod up to strike when the monster shouted, "Don't hit me, disciple, it's me." As he quickly wielded his rod toward the other person, the Tang monk would say the same thing. "Don't hit me, disciple, it's me." The two Tang monks looked exactly the same, and it was hard to tell them apart. If the rod kills the Tang monk the monster turned into, that would be my merit. But if I used my rod to kill my real master, what am I to do? He could only put a pause to his actions and called Bajie and Shamak over to ask, "Do you know which one is the monster and which one is our master? Point them out so I can hit him." Bajie answered, "You were fighting and shouting in mid-air when, in the blink of an eye, we saw two masters here. We have no idea who is real and who is fake." Xingzhe heard that and made a gesture as he recited a spell. He summoned the divine guardians, 6 gods of the ordinal Ding, 6 gods of the ordinal Jia, guardians of the 5 quarters, 4 chroniclers of time, 18 divine protectors of the monastery, and the local tutelary of soil and mountain gods, telling them all, "Elder Sun came here to subdue a monster. The monster has transformed into my master. They give off the same aura, so it is hard for me to tell them apart. You are secretly in the know. Please inform Master to go up the hall first, so I can capture the monster." It turned out that the monster was an expert in manipulating clouds and mist and could hear Xingzhe speak. So he quickly let go of Sanzang and jumped up the treasure hall of gold carriage. Xingzhe then raised his rod to strike down on the Tang monk. Poor him! If it weren't for the gods on guard, that one strike would have turned 20 Tang monks into mincemeat. It was thanks to all the gods holding up against the iron rod, as they said, "Great sage, the monster can ascend on clouds, so he made his way on the hall first." Xingzhe chased him up the hall when he again jumped down and seized Sanzang. The two mixed themselves into the crowd and were still unable to be told apart. Xingzhe was getting irritated when he noticed Bajie coldly smirking on the side. Enraged, he said, "What is it, you stuffed creature? There are 2 masters now for you to greet and respond to. There's plenty for you to serve. How are you this giddy with delight?" Bajie laughed and said, "Oh, big brother, you say I'm foolish, but you are more foolish than I am. If we can't tell them apart, why bother wasting your energy? Just endure some pain in the head and tell Master to recite that spell. Shaman and I will each hold one in place to listen. The one who cannot recite the spell must be the master. What is so hard about that? 行者 said, Brother, I owe it to you. You are right. That spell is only known by 3 people. Ru-Lai the Buddha came up with it from the tip of his heart, and he passed it on to Guanshi Bodhisattva before Bodhisattva taught it to my master. No one else is aware of the spell. Fine, master. Recite on. The real Tang monk indeed began reciting. The Master King had no idea what that was, so he only mumbled some nonsense. Ba Jie said, The mumbling one is the master. He let go and raised his rake to strike down when the Master King hopped up and ran away on Cloud. Splendid, Ba Jie! He gave a shout before leaping on Cloud to chase. In a hurry, Sha monk left Tang monk behind and also joined the fight with his treasure staff. Only then did the Tang monk stop reciting the spell. Great Sage Sun endured the aching in his head as he held his iron rod and chased into the air. Alas! This battle had 3 ferocious monks surrounding one unruly master. The Master King was held from left and right by Ba Jie and Sha monk with their rake and treasure staff respectively. Xingzhe laughed and said, If I go up and hit him face to face, I fear he would become too afraid and escape again. Wait till Elder Sun jumps higher and pounds down like he's a piece of garlic. Let's put an end to him once and for all. The great sage ascended on auspicious light and found his starting point high up in the skies. Right when he was about to make the lethal attack, from the northeastern direction came a colorful cloud as someone shouted in a loud voice, Sun Wukong, do not make that move. Xingzhe turned around to look and found it was Manjushri Bodhisattva. Quickly withdrawing his rod, he went up to pay his respect, asking, Bodhisattva, where are you headed? Manjushri answered, I'm here to retrieve this monster for you. Xingzhe thanked them and said, Thank you for taking the trouble. Bodhisattva then pulled the spirit-reflecting mirror from their sleeves and showed the monster's original body. Only then did Xingzhe call Ba Jie and Sha monk over together to meet Bodhisattva. Looking into the mirror, the Master King certainly looked hideous. Eyes like glass lamps, head resembling a clay pot. His body was dyed the summer indigo, with claws on 4 limbs the color of autumn frost. A pair of ears drooping, a tail like a long broomstick. His green hair emitted sharp aura, his red eyes glowed lights of gold. Teeth lined up like jade tablets, round whiskers hard like spears. Seeing the true form in a mirror, it turned out to be Manjushri's mighty lion. Xingzhe said, Bodhisattva, this is an indigo-haired lion you ride on. How did he run away and turn into a monster spirit here without you coming to subdue him this whole time? Bodhisattva answered, Wukong, he did not run away but was sent here by Buddha's edict. Xingzhe said, This animal became a monster spirit and usurped the royal throne by Buddha's edict? All the while Elder Sun is suffering here for protecting the Tang monk. I certainly deserve a few edicts too. Bodhisattva explained, You have no idea. This king of Black Rooster Kingdom was a kind man who would give food to monks. Buddha therefore sent me here to bring him to the West, so he could attain the golden body of an arhat. Only because I could not see him in my original form that I transformed into a mortal monk and came to ask him for offerings. He was upset by some things I said and did not recognize me for a good man. He then tied me up with a rope and sent me to the imperial river where I was soaked for 3 full days. It was thanks to the 6 gods of the ordinal Jia who rescued me and brought me westward. This was reported to Ru-Lai, who ordered the master to come here and push him down the well, where he would be soaked for 3 years as vengeance for my 3 days of water calamity. There is no sip of water or a peck of feed that is not foreordained. Now that I have come, the merit is complete. Xingzhe said, You may have fulfilled your personal grievance of some sip or peck, but the master has hurt who knows how many people. Bodhisattva said, He did not hurt anyone. Since his arrival for 3 years, there has been harmonious wind and rain as the nation and people prospered in peace. What harm is there? Xingzhe said. That may be true, but the concubines of the 3 palaces slept and woke up with him. He tainted their bodies and broke who knows how many codes of human ethics. How is that not causing harm to people? Bodhisattva said. He cannot taint anyone. He's a castrated lion. Bajie heard that and walked up to feel with his hands. He laughed and said, This monster is truly a case of the red nose resulted from disease and not wine. Totally undeserving of his bad name. Xingzhe said, If that's the case, take him away then. Had Bodhisattva not come in person, there is no way I would spare his life. Bodhisattva then recited a spell and shouted, Animal, convert to truth now. What are you waiting for? Only then did the Monster King show his original body. Bodhisattva then placed a lotus cover to keep the monster in place before sitting on his back. Leaving on auspicious light, he bid farewell to Xingzhe. Alas! Heading straight up Wutai Mountain where they belong, sitting beneath the lotus dais to listen to scriptures. There is no knowing how the tongue monk and his disciples will leave the city. Please wait until the next chapter.